81a. The bottom line says, Baimine Rabbi bar Rav Shila Rav Chisda. Rabbi bar Rav Shila is asking a question of Rav Chisda. We've been discussing stones that were used for the bathroom regarding muktzah, other possible issues, maybe about using these stones. So his question here, Rabbi bar Rav Shila asks, Rav Chisda ma'ala leisa machrav legag. Let's say someone is going to use the bathroom on his roof. Is he allowed to take the stones up to the roof? This could be what Rashi puts it as tircha yeserta. It's a big bother that should not be done on Shabbos. You have certain limitations on things that are very tiresome or something. Taisva says that this should have been prepared beforehand. That's what his question is. Either it's because of a tircha, basically, is he allowed to bring them up to the roof? One reason or another is a problem. Amalei, sort of Chisda responds, Gadol cover the bria shadechas leiseish b'teira. What do you want? You want him to be dirty, unsanitary? Cover the brias pushes off. We learn this from Shabbos Daf, that it says that if he's an older person, zaken probably means a wise person, a scholar, and it's not his dignity to go return some bundle of whatever, chickens, I don't know, whatever the person lost. So he doesn't have to do it. We learn it from V'salam Tamim. He may turn away from them. It said that rhetorically, V'salam Tamim. So he may turn away from that. That teaches us that if it's a zaken, if it's not it's his dignity to return it, so then he doesn't. We see it pushes off even biblical laws. So too over here, there may be an issue of a derabanan, which is based on leisaser. What's the derabanan? Muktzah. Maybe an issue of muktzah, which is based on, or maybe the tircha yisera, to carry it up to the roof. But whatever the case is, it's going to push that off because it's kavod abrius. Kavod abrius means human dignity, that he should be clean. That's a dispensation that we have for the laws of muktzah when it comes to cleaning after the bathroom. Yosef Mareimar v'kamala lahashmaitza. Mareimar was sitting and he was saying this over, this halacha. So Eisvei Ravina l'Mareimar. Ravina asked Mareimar a question. Rabbi Eliezer, Amar Neitel Adam Kesem Mishalafanov Lachtas Beishinov. Rabbi Eliezer writes. Rabbi Eliezer says, is in the Tosefta, he says that a person can take a toothpick from the ground to clean his teeth. Talking about on Shabbos. We don't say that it's muktzah, even though it's just a twig. He's allowed to use it. You can't take it from the ground. You can take it from a trough, which means it was already prepared there beforehand. It wasn't designated for use of a toothpick, but it was probably there for the animal food, probably. They could chew on these little twigs. But it definitely wasn't set aside from before Shabbos for non-use. There it was put to be used. So that's what he's allowed to use. What Ravina is asking Mareimar is that we're seeing that kavod abrius, the person has something in his teeth. It could be it's exposed and it doesn't look good. And you're telling him, according to Rabbi Eliezer, he's allowed to take it, but according to the Chachamim, he's not allowed to clean his teeth. That could be very, very embarrassing if there's something in his teeth. Someone told me they went for a job interview. Everything went well and everything, but when they left, they saw they had a split pea in their tooth. So, kavod abrius, human dignity, you should be allowed to remove that on Shabbos, and that should overrule the laws of muktzah. and it, according to Chum, it doesn't overrule the laws of Muktzah. So the Gemara says, Hachiyash, 1 second. Hasamadam kaveya makam l'sida. You can set aside a place where you're going to have your meal tomorrow, and that should not switch. So you could have prepared that beforehand, that you should have a toothpick over there where you're going to eat. You should be able to clean your teeth. However, you can't always have a designated place for the bathroom, because it could be that where you thought you were going to go to the bathroom, someone happens to be there now. You have to go somewhere else. Not necessarily using the bathroom, but it's just there. You're not going to go to the bathroom in front of him. So you may have to find a new place. So therefore, you should be allowed to move the stones to the roof or to somewhere else, because you don't have the right location right now. Okay, Amar Afuna. Afuna says, Asa lifnes stay near b'Shabbos. If a field was plowed already, you're not supposed to use that place for a bathroom, a plowed field. My taima, Eily mishum davsha. If it's because you're going to be pressing on it, and it was just plowed, that means the earth was softened, and now you're ruining it. So, afilu b'chol nami, then it's a problem even in the weekday. What does that have to do with Shabbos? You're ruining his field. He put in all this effort to plow it, and now you're going and walking on it. So that's even a problem in the weekday. It must mean that the issue is that there's growing grass there, and you're going to end up uprooting the grass. Rashi puts it that there's grass growing out of the rocks that he wants to use, because of the moisture. When it was when he turned over the soil, there was moisture, and the grass started to grow out of the rocks. He's afraid that he's going to uproot the grass out of the rocks. And this is a Shabbos issue. Rish Lakish says it's not a problem to use a rock that has grass growing out of it. This sounds more like a coral type rock, but it doesn't, not necessarily. Could be there's little pieces that are growing out of this rock. And Rish Lakish says it's not a problem. So what is Rav Huna saying? That you're not allowed to use this place as a bathroom because you might use these rocks and take out the grass that's growing. It's not a problem anyway. But then it says, however, if someone b'meskaven takes grass out of a rock, he is chayiv chatas. We're not talking about meskaven though. We have a question here. Why do we say that he can't use that area? That area. Gemara says, "El dilma naket meiloi v'shadletatai mechayiv mishum derabba." We have a new issue here. We mentioned it before, but a new issue in this context. When he's going to go to the bathroom in this place, it could be that the area was, because it was plowed, so you have these furrows. So he may end up straightening part of the area. And if he takes a rock from a high place and he puts it in a low place, that is improving the soil, improving the ground. And this is the din that Rabbi taught us. The Rabbi said, guma, if someone has a hole, utamama, and he fills it up, a hole in the ground. So if it's bebayas, if it's in his house, remember they had dirt floors, so chayev mishum baina. That's improving his house. So that's considered construction. However, besada is chayiv mishum chayrish, but if it's in the field, then it's considered plowing. So the same action depends on the location, is either plowing or construction or building. And here we have the problem of using a plowed field for the bathroom because it might be plowing, because you might straighten out the flatten the soil. Okay, Gufa. we learned before, Rish Lakish said, a rock that has grass growing out of it, you're allowed to use it as this toilet paper, as a sanitary, to clean oneself after the bathroom. But someone that takes the grass and pulls it out of that rock, he's chayiv chatas. Amar Rav Papi says, Shma mina midrish Lakish. We see from what Rish Lakish is saying that growing the grass in this rock is chayiv chatas if he removes it. That high parfisa, that this parfisa is a perforated flower pot. I like the word perforated because perfisa is prefer, half the word there. Perfisa shari, this flower pot that has a hole in it. Shari little tuli, you're allowed to move it. Why? You're allowed to move the rock. You're just not allowed to take the grass out of the rock, but the rock itself you're allowed to move, even though the rock was on the ground. So you see that you're allowed to move a flower pot with the hole. Maskefla Rav Kana says, 1 second. Rav Kana didn't say you can go around moving flower pots with holes. He said if you need it for the bathroom, you're allowed to use this rock. That was a necessary reason. It was covered abrius. Just the way that Rav Papi is saying it, we see from Rish Lakish, a person's allowed to move a flower pot around. You see, the issue is that there's nutrients that come from the soil if the flower pot if they come from the earth, if the flower pot has holes. Now moving that pot is removing it from where it was planted. That's considered planted if the flower pot has a hole. The roots can go through that hole and go into the ground. Rashi over here says that he's going to say shortly that he doesn't think that chayev really means that he's chayev. Well, when the Gemara is going to say that moving a flower pot is chayev, he doesn't think that it's really chayev, like midaraisa. However, Rashi does give us a very interesting thing. He says he found in the Chuvas Hagainim that they would make these sort of baskets, wicker baskets. They would fill it with dirt and cow manure. In 22 or 15 days before Rosh Hashanah, everyone would take this. They would take these interesting flower pots. They would put in it, they would take one for each child in the house, and they would put in it a bean or a legume, and they called it perfisa. They would grow it, and on Erev Rosh Hashanah, which is 15 days later, 22 days later, everyone would take it, they would put it over their head 7 times, and they would say, Zeh tachazeh, Zeh chalifasi, Zeh timurasi, and they would throw it into the river. You ever heard that? Such a minute, kaparas. Rashi quotes this from the Gainim. Yeah, this is a good kaparas for the vegans. You could do it with a plant. You take a bean sprouts or something. Okay.
So the lines are probably a lot shorter also.
Yeah. You don't have to pay the sheichet. Okay. So, and you throw it into the river. Doesn't sound so bad. A little some beans in the river. It sounds like the fish will enjoy that. There's no harm in that. Okay. We're holding Omar Abaya. About halfway down. Abaya says, Perfisa, Hayel Vasili Yadan, Lema Bamil. So we're speaking about this flower pot. Since this flower pot came into our hands, let's discuss it. Let's say it's on the ground. And you put it up onto pegs. You raised it above the ground. you tailish, you uprooted something from its being grown. It's like harvesting. But let's say it was on a post and you put it onto the ground. So then it's planting. So here's where Rashi says, Li nira de chayav lav dafka. Rashi says he doesn't believe that it's really chayav. So, but Rashi says, but use the word chayav. He says, well, I'll give you another example where we use chayav and we only mean a derabanan. He says that someone that lives with a non-Jewish woman is chayav mishum nashgaz. We had this quoted, and it's in Avodah Zarah, Sanhedrin, he quotes it from. But Nashgaz is Nida, Shivcha Gaya. There's all these rabbinic decrees that we had it in Nida, that's where we had it. These rabbinic decrees that are put on a non-Jewish woman, and we say chayav, but it's only rabbinic. Are you saying chayav? Rashi says, you see, chayav is used for rabbinic laws as well sometimes. So that's what he means over here, that it's not a real daraisa. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says,
isn't that chayav on the Jewish man?
Yeah. Yeah, but she's not, a non-Jewish woman isn't a nida. But nevertheless, you say chayav mishum nida. It's only a rabbinic law. He's saying he's just showing that the term chayav could be used on a rabbinic law. Rabbi Yochanan says, Asal l'kanech b'cheres b'Shabbos. Rabbi Yochanan says, don't use pottery shards on Shabbos to clean yourself. Where it says my time, and what's the reason? It created a little bit of an issue here because he says it's on Shabbos to figure out what malacha it is. Eily mishum sakana. Pottery shard sounds like it could be dangerous. So he could cut himself. If it's a sakana, fila b'chol nami, then even in the weekday you shouldn't use it. Eily mishum kshafim. It must be it's witchcraft. It says, well, fila b'chol nami, like, then what's the difference? And the weekday also you shouldn't do it. Witchcraft, Shabbos, weekday, it should be the same issue. Eily mishum, what are you showing there? You see tissues and napkins. Okay. Eily mishum hasharas niman. It's possible that he's going to be removing hair when he's cleaning himself with these shards. Could be it'll be like shaving his bottom. So that's an issue only on Shabbos. The Gemara says, really, that's an issue. He's not intending to cut hairs. So Amalahu Reb Nassan Barashia. Reb Nassan Barashia says, what's the Amar Lahu? I guess to the yeshiva. Gav Rabba Amar Milsa Nema Bataima. If a great man says something, we have to explain it. Right here, it doesn't make sense. So we have to give an explanation for it. Rabbi Yochanan said this halacha. We have to attempt to try to answer it up. Not only in a weekday is it aser, aval b'Shabbos hayov v'kateres kelev shaperdami k'mash malan. It says like this. We said before that there are issues with using pottery shards to clean himself, but we couldn't figure out why the issue would be only on Shabbos. If it's dangerous, and it's during the weekday as well. So Reb Nassan Bar Ishia comes along, he says, it's not that the issue is only on Shabbos. The issue is during the weekday as well. However, on Shabbos, I would say that it's better to use pottery shards because pottery shards could be considered a vessel if they have some usage. And it's better not to violate the laws of muktzah and use stones. Better to use, on Shabbos, you should use pottery shards. During the weekday, don't use them because what's the purpose? Use stones. It could be dangerous. But on Shabbos, you should try to use them even though it's a little dangerous because at least it's not muktzah. So he says, Loimi boy, he reads it, Loimi boy b'chol da aser. For sure during the weekday it's aser. We're not saying that During the weekday, this is permitted. In the weekday, for sure, it's asur. But I could have thought maybe on Shabbos, it should be the accepted practice to use this, even though it's not so safe. So kamash malan that you don't use it on Shabbos. Also, you just use regular stones, even though they're muktzah, but it's better than this, which could be dangerous. People that don't light Shabbos candles, so you try to tell them they should light a candle in their house, especially older people sometimes, very nervous about fires. So you say, well, it's probably put on the table in a candle holder, it's whatever, it's, but they have in their mind that it's, but if you do it on Shabbos, they say, yeah, candle, you put it, it's a normal thing to do it. You have to convince them, they put it in the sink. They light it in the sink. It should be safer. Anyway, we could have thought that on Shabbos we do something dangerous a little bit because of the laws of muktzah. So no. There's no, you don't do it even on Shabbos. Okay. Rava, Masnila Mishum Asheras Niman. Rava taught us that the issue was to cut hairs using pottery shards, and that's why Rabbi Yochanan didn't allow it on Shabbos. But Kashle the Rabbi Yochanan, and therefore he had a contradiction in something that Rabbi Yochanan said. What was the contradiction? He says, Miyam Rabbi Yochanan, did Rabbi Yochanan really say, Asla Kanech B'cheres B'Shabbos, that you're not allowed to use pottery shards on Shabbos, Al Medavar Shein Miskaven Asur? Apparently, even something that's done without intent is forbidden on Shabbos. Now, is that really so? Rabbi Yochanan says Allah is like a stam mishnah. Utanan, we have a stam mishnah that we have a mishnah that says Nazir, that's someone that doesn't cut his hair, Chayfif is allowed to shampoo Mefasvis and to put his fingers through his hair. Avalei Seirik, but he's not allowed to comb it. Combing would be actually pulling out hairs, but shampooing and putting his fingers in may pull out the hair, but it's definitely not miskaven to pull out. So what are we seeing here? That a davar shein miskaven, according to Rabbi Yochanan, is not a problem. No, we have to learn from a nazir. It's so surprising. We're learning from a nazir. Don't we have in Hilchos Shabbos davar shein miskaven? Anyway, this is a stam mishnah. Maybe that's what we need. The other places is a machlekes Reb Shimon and Reb Yehuda. Here we have a stam mishnah, and so this is proving that a stam mishnah, proving that the law is davar shein miskaven is mutter. Something that's done without intent is permissible. So if something that's done without intent is permissible, and using shards that will end up cutting hair, but it's without intent, is permissible. So why did Rabbi Yochanan say you're not allowed to do it? We have to say that the pshat is like Rav Nosson bar Oishia. He's the one that said that the reason is why you don't do it is because for sure in the weekday you don't do it. You don't use these. Because over there you can use stones. There's no muktzah in the weekday. As frum as you are, there's no muktzah in the weekday. And on Shabbos, you could have thought that maybe to avoid the laws of muktzah, you should do this that's slightly dangerous. That's what Rabbi Yochanan means to say, no, you don't do it on Shabbos either. Okay. Kiha, the Rav Chisda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna. I'm sorry, Mike Shafim, we mentioned witchcraft. I skipped 2 words. What is the witchcraft over here? Kiha, the Rav Chisda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna. Like Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna have asli ba'arba. They're on a boat. Amr lahu al matronisa, this Roman matron, this important woman, says to them, Oisvan ba'adaichu, let me sit with you. They didn't let her sit over there. Amra I Milsa, so she gives some sort of incantation, and I start to larba, the boat stops. Amra Inu Milsa, they said some incantation. And Shayu, and the boat started to go. Now Rashi is careful to say Al Yidei Shem Tahara. They did not do witchcraft. They used a name of Hashem, I guess, to that the boat should go. Amr lahu. So she said to them, "My abed lahu. What can I do to you? I can't harm you. I can't. I have no control over you. You don't use pottery shards to clean yourselves. You don't kill lice that's directly on your clothing. You don't pull out vegetables and eat it. Yeah. You don't pull out vegetables from the way it's wrapped by the farmer. You don't pull one out and eat it. Rather, you untie the whole thing. You open it up in a normal manner. You untie the whole bundle to take one. Now, apparently, what this woman was saying is that if you would have done these things, talking to Rav Chisda and to Rabbi Bar Rav Huna, then witchcraft would have had a power over them. What are those things? One of them is cleaning themselves with pottery shards. See, that's a problem of witchcraft. If someone does that, then the witchcraft can have a hold on him. And since they didn't do it, so she wasn't able to control them. Okay, that's our raya that we have, is from this story. Amalei Rav Huna l'Rabba Brei. Rav Huna says to Rabbi his son, "My time l'shchichas kamei de Rav Chisda to mechaded and shmaiting." Rav Huna says to Rabbi, "Why don't you go to study with Rav Chisda? He's so sharp. You become a Talmud Chacham over there." So, Amalei, my Eily Gabe, what am I going to do over there? I can just see this conversation happening. When I go over there, he just schmoozes with me. I don't learn Torah. He just talks to me about events, the regular worldly things. Amalei, he tells me like this: Manda aya lebeisakise. This is what Rav Chisda says. He says someone that comes into the bathroom, you should not sit down immediately. You should not force himself very much. The haikar because the rectum, atlas shini yosef, sits on 3 teeth. It means the ligaments that hold it in place. Dilma, I don't know if I'm using the right term there. Dilma mishtamta shini de karkashta. Maybe it'll go out of place. These shine, these teeth of the karkashta of the rectum. Vasil de sakana, and it'll be dangerous. That's what Rav Chisda is telling me. I went over there. I wanted to hear a ktsois and a shav shmaitza. Something. He tells me these medical things. Amalei, who asik b'chayi debriyasa. He's telling you matters of health. Doesn't mean health of creation. I think it means health. You told me that it's worldly matters. All the more so you should go study by him. He's telling you things that are so important. Yeah. How do they translate b'chaya debriyasa? Who asik b'chaya debriyasa?
It just says the life of people.
Life of people.
Chaya brios. Yeah.
Okay. Then we're going to have a few cases over here of options, be machlaikas, what to use to clean oneself. If you had an option of stones or pottery shards. Rav Huna says you use the stones, but don't use the pottery shards. But that was sort of clear before. However, Rav Chisda because it says it's better to use the shards, not to use the rocks. This is talking about on Shabbos. He taka held that you should avoid the muktzah. Meisvei, 1 second, we have a question. It says Rav Chisda is right. You should use the pottery shards, not use the rocks. Avoid the problem of muktzah. Tiyufta de Rav Huna. It's a strong question on Rav Huna. Rav Huna says you should use the rocks. We have a brisa that says that he's supposed to use the pottery shards. So Rav from Bar Papa tells Rav Chisda, it's not a problem. That brisa that says that you use the rocks, that brisa that says that you use the cheres, pottery shards, is talking about the shards that are on the top handles of the cheres. That over there it's smooth, it's not sharp. So that's why you're supposed to use those shards. But if it would be sharp, the sharp parts, that if it would be from the bottom of the vessel or whatever, that would be a problem. And that's why Rav Huna says not to use those. Okay, that's how you answer a contradiction. You say it's dealing with something else. This is talking about this, this is talking about that.
Now you know why everyone's hoarding toilet paper, because they read this Gemara.
Right. Now when they open the beaches, now you know what everyone's doing there. They're collecting rocks because there's no toilet paper, and seashells. If there's rocks or grass, which one should he use? So Rav Chisda v'Rav Hamnuna. Here it's not Rav Huna, it's Rav Chisda and Rav Hamnuna. It's interesting. We have a Gemara Kedushin that Rav Chisda was not fond of Rav Hamnuna, because Rav Hamnuna wasn't married. I think that was the Gemara, what the Gemara said there. Anyway, here's the machlekes. One says that you should use the rocks, don't use the grass. One says you use the grass, you don't use the rocks. Rashi over here says the grass can cut the skin. It's sawgrass. And Rashi says, my teachers say that it has to do with pulling out the grass. He says he doesn't understand Rashi says how this is going to work. Because you're telling me a machlekes, if you're allowed to pull out the grass, no one holds you allowed to pull out grass to use. He says it must mean that he wants to use the grass while it's attached. And he's not going to pull it out. That's the question. Can he use it while it's attached? Okay. I guess the tall grass, you can bend it or whatever. The Gemara has a question. So, if someone uses material that could be burnt, sounds like toilet paper, this is referring here to grass, so you can get hemorrhoids. I guess that's what it means, that the ligaments or that hold in the rectum could fall out. Sounds worse than hemorrhoids. It says like kasha. This is not a problem. How is he allowed to use the grass? This causes issues. It says habalach might be evasion. Depends if it's moist or dry. If it's moist, he's allowed to. He could use it, and it's not a problem. If it's dry, then it could be burnt by fire, and that's the problem of using. That's what you shouldn't use. Okay, now the Gemara says, someone needs the bathroom, but he doesn't go. Rav Chisda Ravina. So machlekes Rav Chisda and Ravina, what happens to him? One says that he gets ruach ra. I thought that ruach ra would meant an evil spirit. But Rashi says right away that it means he gets halitosis, gets bad breath. Oh, look at that picture. Okay. I thought you were going to put a bottle of Listerine or something. So, the other one says that he gets his whole body smells like a sweat, not just the mouth, but his whole body. It comes out, the smell will come out from his whole body. Tani kamandam ruach zuama sheletispai. Bring a raya that the whole body smells from this. Tanya nitzach the kavav. So we have a brisa. Someone that needs the bathroom va'ich and eats daimel tanash siku al gav afrei. It's similar to someone lighting a fire, lighting his oven on top of the old ashes. He didn't clean it out. He's lighting it again. This is the beginning of the whole body smelling. Okay, it seems to be a raya that the whole body smells if he doesn't use the bathroom. Here, he needs the bathroom, but he's not able to. Sounds like he's constipated. Amar Rav Chizda, Yamid v'yeshiv, Yamid v'yeshiv. Rav Chizda says he should stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down. And somehow that will get things going in his movement. Rav Chanan min Ardaya miyastalak l'tzdadim. Rav Chanan min Ardaya says that he should go to the other side of the room and try again. Rav Hamnuna says you should try to open up the rectum with a pebble or a rock, and maybe that will release it. Rabbanan say you just forget about it. Yisiach daita. Well, how's he supposed to use the bathroom if he just forgets about it? Mesiach das means you move your mind away. Amalei says, no, you got it wrong. Not forget about it. Yesiach daita midvar machirim. Forget about everything else and concentrate on it. It's exactly the opposite. Maybe that's the pshat. Mashiach ba behes chadas. In ben David ba la behes chadas. Behes chadas from what? Behes chadas from everything. Maybe like according to this Gemara, you can learn it both ways. Behes chadas from everything else. You only concentrate on Mashiach. I don't know if that's a real pshat. To look that up. Amar Rav Yirmiyah Midifti. Rav Yirmiyah Midifti says, "L'didi chazi lehu taya." Says I saw this. Taya is like an Arab merchant. The kam v'yasev ad shafach kekadera. It's a little bit graphic. He says he needed the bathroom. He gets up, he sits down, he gets up, he sits down, until afterwards it came pouring out like a pot. That's Rabbi Yirmiyah's description that it really works. Tana Rabbanan, starting a brayso nichnas l'sudas keva. If someone's going into a big meal, you're not going to want to get up in the middle of the meal to use the bathroom. So before the meal, yihalach yud pamim shel arba amas. You should walk 10 times 4 amas. I guess it means you walk and you stop. Maybe it means sit down in the middle. 10 times 4 cubits, and each time you stop. Some say that you do it the other way. You do 4 times 10 amas. And each time you stop. So you stop 4 times. And then he uses the bathroom. You go and he sits down in his place. Okay. Cheres, we have a new Mishnah here. When it comes to pottery, shards, what's considered carrying? Someone wants to carry pottery shards outside. So, well, it depends what they're used for. It says, Kedei litin bein patsim lachavere. To be able to put between patsim. Rashi says that if you're setting up beams on the ground, so sometimes you can put a little thing in between, a little piece of pottery in between so that they don't rot. Or maybe some say that, in order, so if there's a groove so that they stay straight, because otherwise they'll warp. They do this when they lay tiles and they want to use, put the grout in, which they do afterwards. So So they put these little chips in to keep them the right distance from each other. So something like that. That's what's going on over here. What do they use in the olden days? Pottery shards. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Reb Meir says, "K'dei lachtis by SR." They have to be large enough to stoke the fire. I guess it sounds a little larger. The Gemara is going to discuss which is larger, but it sounds a little larger. This sounds like it could be little pieces, or maybe not. It depends how big the fire is. We'll see in the Gemara. Rabbi Yossi says, in order to contain a revius. So we're talking about a shard that has a receptacle as well. That would be considered a significant shard that would be carrying. Amar Reb Meir, Afal Pi Shein Raya L'Davar Zeich L'Davar. Meir says, I don't have a proof for what I'm saying. I said that it's in order to stoke the coals, but I have a proof in Pasuk in Yeshaya and Isaiah. It says, L'yimtza b'machitzai cheres lachtes esh miyakoid. He won't find amongst his pieces a piece of pottery to stoke the coals. See? That's what pottery is used. That's a broken piece of pottery are used to stoke the coals. Amalei Rabbi Yossi Misham Raya. Rabbi Yossi says, you think that's a proof? Look at the end of the pasuk. V'lachshif mayim migaba, or to draw water from a puddle, or a cistern, or whatever. So you see, pottery is used to draw water. You quoted half a pasuk, and you have a raya, but the rest of the pasuk says that I'm right, that it's to contain water, or a revius. Gemara has a question: which one is bigger? We're asking on Reb Meir and Rabbi Yossi, the second opinions. Reb Meir says to stoke the coals, and Rabbi Yossi says to collect water. Which one is a bigger piece of pottery? The one that's bigger is going to be more lenient, because if you carry something smaller, then the shear, then you potter. Rabbi Yehuda, we always said was always machmer. Remember, we said his shiurim were always smaller. That's what we've been saying the last few days. So to put it in the in between pieces of boards, that would be the smallest. The question is Reb Meir and Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara says Mistaber shiur de Rabbi Yossi nafesh. Probably Rabbi Yossi is a larger measurement. However, umikra shiur de Rabbi Meir nafesh. But when we look at the pasuk, it's clear from the pasuk that Reb Meir, he had the bigger measurement. Because if you'd say that Rabbi Yossi is the one that has the bigger one, the bigger measurement, what did the pasuk say? He'll have no shards left. He'll have nothing, not even the shards. Shards to stoke the coal, stoke the fire, or shards to gather water. So it should say the larger, not only won't you have the larger ones, you won't have the smaller ones either. So that means that the smaller ones is Rabbi Yossi to collect water. So it must be that Reb Meir's shear is larger based on the pasuk. Amar Abaya, Maslisan Nami from the Mishnah also, Lachtis Eish Miyakida Gedela. I'm not sure what his raya is. He means to stoke the coals of a big fire. You need a big piece of pottery to stoke the coals. Rabbi Yossi Misham Raya. Rabbi Yossi says to Reb Meir, you have a proof from there. They look at the end of the pasuk. It doesn't prove anything, because the end of the pasuk says that you won't have pottery to collect water. And you see, so what's a significant piece of pottery? Something that collects water. The Gemara says, Shaper Kamle Rabbi Yossi Reb Meir. Rabbi Yossi had a good point. What was Reb Meir thinking? Reb Meir was thinking not only this, but even that. not only something significant, we only have. Now, when it comes to Hilchos Shabbos, I'm only chayiv if I carried something significant. So therefore, what's significant? Stoking coals. You won't even have something that's insignificant, which is smaller than that, which is collecting water. You won't even have that either. When it comes to Hilchos Shabbos, I'm only chayiv on the one that's significant. So Rabbi Meir told me the stoking of the coals. Yomi Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says a new parak now. Eliezer, I think the Steinsaltz Gemara now switches. The Steinsaltz has like 80 pages per volume. The Art Scroll has 40 or something. Does the Art Scroll Gemara also switch by this parak? Or it switched by the last parak, probably. Okay. Yeah, you can't follow the shir by watching when one person turns the page. Yeah, everyone has different pages. So, okay. Rabbi Akiva says, Minayin lavay dezar shemitame b'masa. Kinida. How do you know that an avodah zarah makes a person tummy if he lifts it up, if he carries it? Quotes a pasuk in Yeshaya, Shnemar tizarim k'maydava. Let's spread them out like dava, like a flow, which is referring to the nida. Say time alai. He'll say, get out. Now, ma nida b'masa, just like a nida is metame by carrying. Someone would carry the nida, the woman, even if he doesn't touch her, but he just lifts her up. Maybe she's in a chair or something, or carries her up. Also, avodah zarah is tummy if someone carries it, even without touching. Okay. Rashi starts off, he says, why are we getting into this? Because we want to get into having a bris on Shabbos. We're going to need to mention different items that you can use. So we start discussing, it starts off, this is just an introduction to a conversation of different items that are going to be used. Okay, Tanan Hassam. Start over there. Misha haya beisai samach la'avodah zarah. Someone has his house that's right next to an avodah zarah, right next to a church. It sounds like he has one wall for the two structures. He has one wall for his house and for the avodah zarah. But nafal, and the wall fell down. Also live nicely and not let it build it up. Because if you build it, you're building a wall for avodah zarah. Kate said, yes. So what should he do? So you have to go into your property 4 amas and build it up. So there's going to be an empty space over there in between the two properties. Let's say half the wall was built on his property and half the wall was built on avodah zarah property. So nidin mechza al mechza. So he doesn't have to go 4 amas away from the wall. He can go 4 amas from the end of his property. It means you divide it as you would imagine, that he only has to go in 4 amas from the end of his property, but not. Is he going in 2 amas into his property, or is he going in 4 amas into his property? I think he's going in 4 amas into his property. Is that what it says? Now, avana ve'etzav afarav mitamin kesheretz. There is a wall that fell down over here. Now, the stones of that wall whether it's stones or wood or dirt, all of that is all tamei. Shenemar shakitz tishaktzenu. As it says, shakitz tishaktzenu, that it's like a sheretz. Sheketz is like sheretz. Now, sheretz has a different level of tumah. Sheretz, the tumah only comes from touching directly, not from lifting. So Rabbi Kiva says kanida, that it's tummy like a nida, which is more strict than a sheretz. Shenemer tizaron kuvay dava, ma nida metambe b'masa, v'dazar metambe b'masa. Okay, but just like a nida is tummy from lifting, the tumah goes off if someone carries the nida. So too, by avodah zarah, the tumah goes on the person that carries it.
Is this Tuma Avodah Zarah Midrabanan?
I think so. Yeah, it's interesting. They're learning it from a pasuk in Yeshaya. Yeah. What's the purpose of this tumah? To keep people away from it. I'm a Rabbi. Let's go. We'll get into this. This is like a long Gemara, but we'll get into the jump. Rabbi says, "Tizarim damer kra, nachrinu minach kizar, tzei timer lai, hikanis al timer lai." Rabbi says that tizarim, which meant to spread them out, doesn't mean to spread them out like the word zoira. Zoira is like throw it out. It doesn't mean that. Tizare means you make them strangers, like a zar, just changing the root of the word. Tizare, make them like strangers. Say to get out, don't say to come in. V'amar Rabba, Rabba also says, B'masa dekuli amalei pligi demetama, diskish lenida. Really, everyone holds that avodah zarah is metame b'masa. It gives off tumah from carrying. What is the issue here between Rabbi Akiva that says that it's like a nida and the Rabbanan that say it's like a sheretz? Ki pligi be'evan misama. They're arguing about something else. And evan misama is like a large stone that's put on top of a something that can hold it. It's a stone that's not moved. But if someone sits on top of that stone, so things that are under that stone could become tamei if it has the rules of Evan Masama. That's the rule by a nida and by a zav. It says kol asher yiyah tachtav becomes tamei. Anything that's under it. So ki pligi be'evan Masama. Rabbi Kiva savar kenida. Rabbi Kiva holds that avodah zarah is like a nida. Ma nida metamen be'evan Masama af avodah zarah metamen be'evan Masama. Just like a nida gives off tumah with a stone, which one of these stones, if the nida sits on top and there's items, vessels under it, so to avodah zarah gives off tumah. Rabbanan sabri kisheretz. Rabbanan say no, avodah zarah is like a sheretz. Ma sheretz le'metame be'evan masama, af avodah zarah le'metame be'evan masama. Just like a sheretz doesn't give off tumah if something is underneath the stone that the sheretz is on top of, doesn't give off tumah. You have to actually touch the sheretz. So to avodah zarah doesn't give off tumah like that. Okay.